Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Horse Advocate podcast. I'm so glad you are joining me today. I've got a lot of things to talk about. The first is I am on the road. So I've been working for almost 3 weeks straight, covering all of New Orleans, then heading up to New England, Connecticut, Massachusetts, New York. And I've got 2 more days of work before I start to head back down to my home base in Florida. So it's taken up a lot of time, and I've decided to do this podcast on the road to try and keep up with my schedule. And frankly, I'm a little kaput. My body and brain really work hard when I'm out here. I've connected with so many cool horses, new people, everyone just staying amazed at how I connect with these horses and do my dentistry thing. But I'm not here to talk about dentistry. I could talk all day about dentistry, and I could talk all day about nutrition. And I love both. I love talking about horses in general. After all these years, these decades of working with them, I decided to ask the one question as I went from farm to farm. Why do you get out of bed every morning and get into the barn? What drives us? What motivates us to really connect with horses? And I was really surprised at some of the answers people gave me. I was kind of glad that they all asked, because there are days, I'm sure, where the rain is coming down hard, the snow and the winds are blowing. I know I had a snow day where I didn't go out to travel because the snow was coming down just a week ago. And it was really cold. So what is it that drives you to the barn? And I got a lot of people saying, well, I just love horses. And I'm not accepting that. I would drive further, deeper, and say, there's more to it than just loving horses. So some of the interesting things that were said were, I have a sense of duty. I thought that was pretty interesting. I committed to supporting this horse, and this horse has become lame, and it's been lame for 8 years. So it just sits here and I feed it. But it's a sense of duty, a commitment that I made with this horse that I would take care of it for its whole life. And I thought that was pretty amazing, because when I told this to another person, she says, well, that's unusual. Usually if they're lame or they get old, they just get rid of them. And she runs a retirement and recovery place. So she gets to see a lot of these horses that are just cast aside. So it runs a gamut. But I don't think that's sense of duty is what I was looking for. Because sense of duty, yes, gets you up out of bed to go to the bathroom, or to make breakfast because you're hungry, or go out and earn a living because you have bills to pay. I get that. But I was looking a little bit deeper. What makes us go to the horse barn? And then I started thinking about a book that I read, and I've talked about this before in previous podcasts, but I think it's worth going back to. And it was Jill Bolte-Taylor, it's a hyphenated last name, Jill Bolte-Taylor, that talked about whole brain living. And in these trying times, and I know they're trying for every one of you listening to this, you've heard snippets, or you're totally engrossed in what's happening in Ukraine and Russia, and the indiscriminate bombing and killing all these people. And nobody's talking about all the dogs and cats and horses and everything else. Although I will put in the show notes that the American Association of Equine Practitioners has a fund that you can contribute to if you want to help the horses of this conflict. So I'll make sure I'll put that in there. I thought that was just pretty bold of them to do. I think there's also the American Veterinary Medical Association, AVMA, who's also made a page that you can contribute to Afghanistan and the devastation to the animals that are there. So those are 2 things I want to put in some show notes. and I think we should be aware of, it's not just the humans that are suffering, but the dogs and cats, the horses, the working equids, the cattle, all of them, they're being neglected or not thought of, certainly not by the nightly news. I don't care which channel you listen to. But I know that a lot of people are struggling. They struggled for the past 2 years with COVID. Some of you have lost your jobs. Some of you lost family members. A lot of you are really upset with some of the information that keeps coming to you over the past 2, 3 years, 4 years, where you don't know what to believe in anymore. And I think a lot of you find yourself going to the barn more and more as a place to get away from it all. And there are some places where I'll start talking about a subject that somebody wants to talk about. I don't care which one it is. I'm willing to debate or discuss anything. And this other woman said, could you just please stop talking? I come to the barn to get away from all of this. I don't want to talk about it. And we really understood that girl's position as she immerses herself in it. I just talked to a gal, a person I never met before, who deals in social work, specifically abused family members. It's like, okay, I've been beaten or abused. Now I need help. And that's what she does all day. And she comes to the barn just to get away from it all. She needs that peace. So I started to ask people what it is that drives them to the barn, gets them to the barn, wants them to stay in the barn and never leave. Even though it's raining, it's cold, these horses cost you money. There's, I laugh with people. So you have the horses because you just have this, desire to throw money into a pit, and they all just laugh because obviously that's not why we have horses. But what is it? So I want to review what Jill Bolte Taylor said, and I'm going to use a little technology. If you guys are just listening to this, that's fine. I'll explain it. But I'm going to try and draw it as well. So I've got my iPad here, and I'm going to connect it to my brand new computer. And let's see, this is just going to take a second. So I'm going to get a whiteboard up. And on the whiteboard, I'm going to draw. Oh, good grief. I've already drawn it. This is crazy. So I guess I don't have to. I drew this as a, what do you call it? Just a template, just to see if I knew what I was doing. But I drew a circle, kind of a circle. And I drew a line from top to bottom, dividing this into the left half and right half. And then I drew a perpendicular line, left to right, that divided the left and half into the upper and lower. And I want you just to think of your brain, just your brain. It's also true for your horse's brain, by the way, but definitely your brain. I want you to think of it in this way. You have your left thinking brain, which is on the left upper half of your brain. And then you have the left limbic system. So that's whatever you just call it, the limbic system, left limbic system. And then on the right-hand side, you also have the right thinking and the right limbic system. And what was interesting was Jill Bolte Taylor, who is a neuroanatomist at Harvard Medical School, she taught people how the brain worked. And I thought it was really fascinating because she lost the whole left side of her brain. And when she did, she lost all of her memories. She lost her ability to speak, her language skills, her realization of time. And she also lost where her world ended and the rest of the world began. So if she reached out with her hand, she did not know where her hand ended and where the world started. That is all on the left side of your brain. And she was just left with the right side of the brain. And that was divided into right thinking, which basically, she said, connected us to the universe. It's where you are in the moment, because there is no time. Nothing is except that. And in the right limbic system was pure joy. She called it pure joy and gratitude. This is where the positive emotions came out. And she was as happy as a newborn baby. She was smiling, she was oohing and eyeing, and she could just feel everything from inside of her to the furthest star that she could see. She felt connected to. And it's interesting because we all know people try to meditate. And when they meditate, they're trying to get over in this right side of the brain where they're thinking, where they're just in touch with the whole universe. It's where a lot of us go when we know we need to get someplace, and we just kind of close our mind off to all possibilities. And we find that all the traffic lights turn green. And it's something that we can't explain, because the traffic lights in your town never are green. They're always red. They're always stopping and going. But one day you get out there and everything's green. And the fact that you even notice all the lights are green means that you're in the right side of your brain thinking. In your left side of the brain, especially the left limbic system, that's where all our negative emotions are: worries, doubts, fear, anxiety. There's all coming from the left limbic system. And left thinking system is all the analysis of things. And that's what's really important. I'm going to try and get this over to the iPad because I want to draw something kind of really important here. So I'm going to click that and move down and move it over here. And I should have this. And I don't know if I can change my pen color. That would be really cool if I could. But I'm going to draw this really thick bunch that connects. So this is a corpus callosum. And what's nice about the corpus callosum is it goes in two directions at birth. So it's bilateral. So it takes the left thinking and connects it to the right thinking, and the left limbic to the right limbic, and it helps to start to make sense of these things. But unfortunately, over time, this all goes one way. It all becomes one way from the left side to the right side. And it's harder and harder the older we get to just get into a way of releasing from our thoughts, our analysis of life, of things that are happening that we can are associated with our memories, and just be with the horse or be with life in general. So the right thinking is peace. The right thinking is connection. It's in the moment, and it's a feeling of joy and gratitude. Does this sound familiar? I mean, think about this for just a second. Isn't this why we go to the barn? Isn't this why we want to be there and get away from all the analysis of who's president, what virus is out there, what's happening on the other side of the planet, who's being bombed, what's fair, what's unfair? In our town, we just had a guy want to jump from the bridge. We closed down the Florida Turnpike, which is a huge artery in South Florida. We had to close it down as this man stood on top of the bridge, threatening to kill himself because it not only had his mother just died, but somebody turned his dog loose. That SPCA picked it up, and he didn't have enough money to get the dog from the shelter, and he thought he should just end his life. It was horrible, tragic. We have family members personally ourselves that are very, very ill and are not going to make it much longer on this earth. And these are people who we've known all our lives. And I'm sure this has happened to you. And we tend to get to the barn to just be in the moment, to listen to the horses chewing, to smell the smells of the barn, to get our fingernails dirty, to clean up after these horses. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. And we ask ourselves, why do we do it? Well, I think the answer is we try to get the right side of our brain. And the whole purpose of this podcast is not to really explain to you why you like the barn. It's more to have you say, I need to start working this direction. I need to access the right side of the brain and bring that back into the left side and help to, I don't know if heal me is the right word, but to bring us into a position where we can start to think a little bit better. All right, so I got rid of the screen. If you're just listening to me, that's fine. I'm pretty sure I use the words pretty clearly, but think of a person's brain, if you're looking at them straight on and divide them right down the middle, and you have a left and right side. You can close your eyes and know that you have a left brain and a right brain. Everybody knows about that. But thanks to Jill Bolte Taylor's analysis, and from her, what looked like was a tragedy, which was actually a blessing, she realized that our emotional center, the limbic system, also has a left and right side. And to apply that to where you are in the world today, we are constantly bombarded with information that we're analyzing, and that analysis is driving emotions. We don't live in the Ukraine, at least I don't, so I'm not worried about a bomb dropping on my head. But to think that there's a man who's going to take his life for hardships that were occurring in his world, that affected me and my wife, and we prayed for him. And we prayed that he got down, and the sheriff's department was great. They were able to get him off the bridge and take him in for treatment to find the help that he needs. And I'm sure he got his dog back too. I'm sure that was not a big deal. So when you go to the barn and you're having trouble, maybe what you need to do is take 5-10 minutes and just say, you know what we're going to do? Go to the barn and take 5 or 10 minutes while the horses have just been given their hay, and you just sit there, close your eyes, and listen to them munching and the peace and quiet that's in there, and learn to get into the right side of your brain and in the moment. And don't call your horse your therapist, because your horse is not your therapist. You are your therapist. The horse is going to be your mirror. And if you understand that the horse is going to be your mirror, you can start to relax and get in the moment and breathe the air that's there, and just get over to the right side of your brain and connect with the universe. I know this sounds really corny because I'm supposed to be the scientist, but I'm just repeating what this other scientist, Jill Bolte Taylor, professor of neuroanatomy at Harvard, said. And understand that when I go into a barn, and it's so funny, I might have some things going on. Maybe I didn't sleep well because I'm in some hotel and it just wasn't right. Maybe I spilled my coffee in the morning and I can't get another cup. Maybe the car had a flat tire, you know, we never know what's going to be delivered to us. Then we get to the barn, and over the decades of working with horses, I've learned that the very first horse I touch is a way for me to connect into the right side of the brain with the universe, with the horse, and the horse reflects back to me, yeah, you're there. That's good. And I know I see horse after horse that may look at me and say, what, you know, who do you think you are that you're coming in here and you're going to stick your hand in my mouth and start filing my teeth? And yet within 30 seconds, they're like, yeah, okay, I'll let you do that. And it amazes people, but I'm giving you the secret right now. You can do almost anything with a horse if you just relax and get out of your left thinking brain and your left negative emotion brain, the left limbic system where your doubts and worries and fears all reside, and just let go of all that and just get in the moment and show joy and gratefulness. That joy and gratitude were the only two emotions that Dr. Bolte Taylor found when she had lost everything. And she could go there easily. She was grateful for the sky being blue, for the air being crisp, for the smells that she smelled in the kitchen. And she was able to associate these with really goodness. And that helped her balance that corpus callosum, that left and right corridor, that mass of nerves that connects the left and the right brain together, and get that to go both ways. And once you start getting both ways, you'll be able to walk up to almost any horse and have the horse reflect back to you that you're in balance. You know, down in Florida, we have a lot of birds that tend to walk around horses, and it's really common for you to go by and see the bird just standing on the horse's back, and the horse is just eating away, and the horse is just standing on the horse's back. The bird is, sorry. And you wonder, how could that happen? Because if I decide to get on my car and go out into that field and get on the horse's back, there could be a full-fledged rodeo going on as the horse is like, who the heck are you? So how does the bird do it? How do I do that? How do we as horsemen start to connect with our horses? I think it's the same thing. If you can find peace in your barn, that connection, that ability to be in the moment, and that ability to find joy and gratitude and just stay there. Once you start doing that, you should be able to go up to almost any horse and they will be relaxed as they reflect back to you the amount of energy that you're putting out. Anyway, that's what I do. I don't know if I'm going to make this any longer, because that's really the point I wanted to get across. And being in a hotel room, I don't want to spend any more time talking. I don't know how the quality of this, how good it's going to be. But that's what I want to convey. Oh, I will tell you something else. This week, I've got 2 things happening. I'm going to read them directly off my calendar. One is happening tomorrow, and there's a 1-hour presentation being put on by Cornell University called Think Like a Horse. I can't wait to watch that. Maybe I'll have a part 2 of this after I watch that. I think it's going to be fascinating. And then the next day, I'm going to the European Equine Horsemanship Nutrition Conference or something like that. Oh, Health Nutrition Congress. They're putting on a seminar, and this thing is so cool. This particular episode, I'm waiting until it comes up so I can read it exactly. Fiber intake, fermentation, and dental condition. And I think that's going to be great. So fiber intake, fermentation, dental condition is all about seeing pieces of fiber in your horse's manure. And everyone's always said, it's the horse's teeth. And I've been saying, no, the microbiome hasn't been right. That's why. It's the microbiome digests the fiber. And they're going to have a whole 3-hour conference on that over in Europe. I think it's the Netherlands, but I'm not sure. Belgium, I'm not sure. One of those places where they're going to talk about it. And I've already registered to be in that conference. So I'll have a podcast based on that pretty soon. And then I've got another podcast coming up with a man that I met this past week who listens or assesses the hearing ability of animals, specifically military dogs, but he's also done a variety of animals, including snakes and aquatic mammals and horses. And he said he would love to have a podcast with me. So that's coming up in the future where we talk about hearing. So if you've ever had a horse that you suspected was partially deaf or completely deaf in one or both ears, I would love to hear about that. So please let me know. Contact me over the horseadvocate.com website, where you can become a member and get more in-depth material on this stuff. So let me wrap it up now. This is a podcast about your mental health, why you go to the horse barn, where common sense says, if you didn't have horses, you'd have more money in your pocket, more time to do things. You wouldn't have anxiety as you hear thunderstorms coming your way. You wouldn't have to worry about plowing the snow and frozen latches and frozen water buckets in the middle of winter, or the heat of summer and the flies and the skin conditions our horses get. You wouldn't have any of these things. All the common sense says, get rid of the horses, and yet we don't. We want to learn more about the horse. We want to help horses thrive in the human world. That's why you're here. And I'm just suggesting that it's as simple as learning how to get from your left brain over to your right brain and access what's over there. And the way you do that is simple. Number one, be grateful. Take 10 minutes every day and become grateful, and just express joy when you see a butterfly go by, or a snowflake, or a rainbow. Just stop and say, that brought joy to my life. And as you do, you'll be in the moment. And as you get over on your right side of the brain, you're going to open up more of the two-way communication between your right and your left through your corpus callosum. And that is all science. That is anatomy. And the more I think about this, the more easy it is just to divide your brain into 4 quadrants and say, I'm living too much on the left side. Let me get over the right side. And as you do and get in the moment, let's see what the horse does as it reflects back to you the energy that you're putting out. And if these horses start to become happier with you, more of a willing partner as you change, it just becomes addicting, and you're going to become more and more excited about getting over in your right brain. So I hope you enjoyed this one. It's a little different. I love to talk about all these other things about horses to help them thrive in the human world. But sometimes if you're not thriving in our human world, it's a wonder how the horse is going to survive. So let's all take a moment and take care of ourselves and spend that 10 minutes out in the barn tomorrow or tonight or right now. Just stop everything, sit down and just breathe and listen to the quiet, the rhythm of the barn, and feel and smell everything and appreciate it. And the more you do that, the more you're going to be really in tune with your horses and the happier you're going to be. All right, this is Doc T, still on the road. I'll be home soon. And I love you all. Thank you for coming here and listening to me. And be sure to tell everybody and go to Apple and leave a review. And if you have somebody you want to have me interview, please also send that along. I'm trying to find people that are of interest that will help us all expand our knowledge about horses. So thanks again. Doc T, out. Hey everyone, Doc T here. Thank you for listening to my content. Would you do me a huge favor? Would you please subscribe, comment, like, thumbs up, and give a star review? However it's presented to you, I want you to do that. There's 2 reasons. The first, of course, is to improve this product. This way I know what you like, what you don't like, what I can improve upon, what topics you want me to cover. But more importantly, it's also going to help others find me. And by doing that, you are now engaged in this mission of helping horses thrive in a human world. By you helping, we can reach others. And that I would be so grateful for. And remember, go to thehorsesadvocate.com for updates on this information. Thehorsesadvocate.com. And again, thank you so much for being here. Doc T out.